Please review your program for this evening with early voting times and schedule on bios of the candidates. Becky Mays will introduce our moderator.
Hey guys, thank you so much for coming out. So, I love this lady. She is probably one of my all-time favorite ladies. Katya, I gave her a call and I said, can you please come out and do something for us in our community? Without even batting an eye, she said, we'll figure it out. I will be there. So please let's give Katya a huge welcoming to Rockport, Fulton.
I'll just stand.
So this is Katya's bio. I remember the moment I wanted to be a journalist. It was my senior year at Loyola University in New Orleans. I was about to take the LSAT for law school when I took a communications class, and she was bitten.
That was it.
That was it. I knew right then and there I had found my passion. It was the rush of putting together a newscast, the responsibility of telling a fair story, and let's be honest, the lights and cameras were fun too. She is good. 18 years now in the business, and my passion for news has only gotten stronger. I've lived in Corpus Christi longer than I've ever lived anywhere in my life. Corpus Christi is my home. I'm raising my son here, and let me tell you guys, she has got the cutest little boy in the whole wide world.
That's true.
You and Johnny make good babies.
Thank you. Thank
Yes.
you.
So he will know the love of having the beach a short drive away, the wind that makes our city memorable, and the people that make our city great. We've made it through a horrible season, a horrible storm, I'm sorry. I was with you when Hurricane Harvey hit. Let's pray we never have to go through that again. But if we do, you can count on us. We will ride it out together with you. Whatever the story is, you can trust us to be fair and tell it the way it is. I thank you for your viewership and see you in the evenings on KRIS Chris News. So.
Thank you.
Well, as everybody knows, Becky is really shy. Painfully, and so when she called me, I said, oh my goodness, you called me. No. So she called me and I said, absolutely, I will be there. So thank you all so much for letting me be part of this candidate forum. I've been part of one a few years ago. It's been a long time, and I love the turnout. Obviously, there's a lot of interest, and being in Rockport is always a lot of fun. So thank you all for having me. Thank you, candidates, for being here. It's not an easy job. This is a tough job, that you're running for something, and also, people want to know what you stand for. So thank you all. Let's give everybody a big round of applause for being here. I want to make sure that, to get this out, that while tonight's forum is going to be informative, we are definitely going to make it fair and balanced, okay? So, let's begin. We are going to start right now with our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Joshua Garcia, followed by parents Logan Burton and Kim Chapman on the school bond proposal. So we're going to begin with them. Here we go, Dr. Garcia.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So glad to be here before you all to share with you information and facts about our upcoming bond. The bond proposal was approved by our school board to put on the ballot on May 7th. The amount is $66 million for that bond package. And so I'll go into what that encompasses. It is addressing a lot of the safety, security issues that we have on two of our main campuses, as well as some of the aging facilities at our Rockport Fulton High School. So before I go any further, how many Rockport Fulton High School graduates do we have in the audience? Raise your hands real high. So just to encourage you, if you put your name on a wall over there at the high school somewhere, it's probably still there maybe. A lot of those buildings were built in 1953. The majority of the classrooms in those buildings were built during that time frame. We are, with this bond, if it passes, looking at building a two-story classroom addition What that will create is an environment to be able to keep the kids circulating within that two-story structure, majority of those classrooms, which would include the fine arts, drama, and band as well. Right now, the campus is spread out, and we have a lot of the old junior high and the old high school, which were kind of combined together, and that's why it's kind of so wide on the square footage chart. So we want to collapse that, and possibly after the bond, after the structures are built, tear down some of those older structures that we have out there, so we don't continue to put money in those pieces. The bond also addresses issues at Fulton. We have portables at Fulton. Previous bond in 2011 got rid of the portables, but then hurricane happened in 2017 with the sale of Little Bay. That required us to move kids into that Fulton structure, which of course created the need for portables again. So again, this bond will address some of that. It will also address some of our athletic complex, some of the seating and lighting in our baseball and softball fields, as well as addressing the flooding that takes place in the middle school courtyard. We have an opportunity, again, I presented this the last 2 weeks, and there'll be another opportunity tomorrow. If you want to come out and visit the high school or the Fulton Learning Center, Fulton will be at 5:30, and then the high school will be at 7 o'clock, and we'll be doing town hall tours. So you'll hear more details about the bond and what that looks like. If you're a senior citizen or a disabled veteran and you homestead here with us in the county of Aransas, then your taxes will not go up. You're exempt from the bond tax. And so when you think about a bond tax, there's two things that you think about when you're talking about taxes. There's maintenance and operation, and there's I&S. Maintenance and operation tax is what pays for teacher salaries, the employee salaries. It's also what pays for the electric bill, the water bill, everything that you need to run a school building. And in today's day, it also pays for the fuel that goes into those school buses that we have to keep running. So that's the maintenance and operation tax. That's also the tax that gets recaptured. So everybody knows that's a bad word in our community, recapture. We lose 17% of our funding to recapture. Mr. Hunter, you're in here somewhere, right? There we go. Talk to him. You can help us maybe have a conversation with our legislators. There's really nothing we can do from our end on the school side, but our legislators can work towards possibly creating some type of cost of living index opportunity to where they take that into account before they take that funding from us in Aransas County, because a lot of districts, if you're not on the coast, you don't pay for windstorm insurance, and we do. We also have to deal with rust and corrosion at a faster rate than school districts inland. So we deal with a whole lot more challenges than inland school districts, so that's an opportunity. But on the I&S side, that's the bond side. That's the side that that's the tax that you use to build buildings, to renovate buildings, to do things like that. I know there's a misnomer that you can use maintenance and operations, but it'd take you forever to get there. If you really want to do some things that are really going to help kids get out of portables and get kids out into a more secure facility, then you have to look at the I&S side. The beauty of the I&S tax is that it does not get recaptured. That money that's collected stays here 100% in Aransas County for the benefit of our students. And so I want to make sure that you know that information. As far as the rates, if you look at it, we have a calculator online that you can plug in your home value and see what the impact would be for you. As far as that information, we have a website, we have presentations, we have videos, everything you need to really get informed on the best decisions that you can make for the students here in Aransas County. We have a video playing in the back. I'll be in the back to answer more questions afterwards if you want to come up and have that conversation. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak about the upcoming bond.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to come up here and speak to y'all. I think we just learned that we have less time than we thought we might have, so we're going to try to wing it and cut a few things short here. My name is Logan Burton. I was not born in Rockport, but got here as fast as I could. My parents moved here when I was 2, and I'm a graduate of Rockport Fulton High School in 1998. I also have a wife that works for the district, and I have 2 teenage daughters who are students in the district.
Hi, my name is Kim Chapman. I also did not start life out here in Rockport, but I Kane after college, and I was a first grade teacher for several years before having my own children. Now I currently have a almost high school daughter and an incoming middle schooler. But teaching teachers, kids are my passion, so I'm very thankful for this opportunity to explain to y'all why I feel like this bond is so necessary to our community.
Okay, so why call a bond? There's three big drivers here, I guess, that are putting us in this situation where we need this to pass, and where we need these improvements and this investment in our students and obviously teachers. And that's because the district is growing. Everybody knows all the industry that's in the surrounding area here on the Gulf Coast. People are moving here, and we're running out of space at the schools. In addition to that, y'all have heard a number of times about the age of our facilities. I think a large majority of the high schools are over 70, 75 years old. And I'd like you just to take a second and think back to life 70 years ago and the different things that we were doing then versus now. And our kids are learning and our teachers are teaching in these facilities that were not meant for this day and age. And then lastly, Dr. Garcia already mentioned safety and security improvements at the schools. That's really all schools. That has to do with minimizing the number of interior and exterior entrances and putting up safety and security systems. Next slide. So the time is now. The last bond was passed 11 years ago. And it addressed improvements at the at the Live Oak Learning Center, the Fulton Learning Center, and the high school. So the new bond, the one that we were proposing today, with this bond, again, I kind of already hit this, but the district's growing, we've got the old facilities. And I did want to take a second, though, and explain how we got here, because I do think that there's been a lot of discussion amongst folks wondering, do we need this? How do we know we need it? Is it a need versus a want? And I felt like it would be good for me to take a minute and talk a little bit about the bond advisory committee that participated in, I would say, prioritizing and packaging this bond to a size that they believed was needed. And so I served on the bond advisory committee, which we started in, December of last year, and it lasted about 9 to 10 months. It was made up of about 48 members, a wide swath of people from the public, and this is actually parents, students, community members, trustees, and they all came with different perspectives and different priorities. And so when we would get into a room and we first learned about I would say it's the initial list of improvements that were needed at the school, we were actually looking at a number of over $120 million. And the committee debated, discussed, and listened to the students and the teachers. And also we did site visits in order to try to determine what we believed were the most important factors, what things we cannot be flexible on, or what things are truly needed. And so we came up with those lists, and we were actually, I believe, and I think the committee themselves all would tell you that we were very successful in whittling that list down from 120 to what we believe is the highest priority, $66 million. And I just think it's important for everybody to understand that there was a lot that went into this, and it wasn't one person. It was many, many people from all different perspectives, and this is where we ended up. Okay.
So, as Logan said, as part of this committee, we really worked hard to weed through all of the choices we had to put into this bond. And it was very difficult. And then coming in and joining PASS, where we stepped away from the planning and got into the community part of it where we're trying to draw in support, I decided to talk to families, children, and parents, and get their take on it, why they thought we needed it. So I wanted to share with you a few statements I took from children. This particular one is from a third grader on Fulton's campus. And she just wanted to talk about the size of the classrooms. These classrooms and these portables are very small. She has a sister that's in 5th grade. She knows she will eventually be in these portables unless the bond passes. And as you can see in this picture, the classrooms are so small, the children are having to keep all of their belongings outside. Because when they're in the classroom with them, there's not room for them to move and walk around and carry on with their daily activities. That's when you think about a third grader's about 9 years old, having to think about these things, it's very touching. This one really hit home for me because, sorry, I get really emotional about it. My daughter was in these portables when they first came in after Harvey. My son is now in this portable as a 5th grader. These children are still using the primary restroom for their grade level as these portables on the playground. Almost 4 years now, okay? This parent told me that she has to send her child with extra clothes on rainy days because when she goes to use the restroom in these portables, because they have a certain amount of time to get to the restroom and back to class, her kid gets soaked. So she's having to bring extra clothes to then change and be presentable and stay healthy and dry. It's just big issues that little kids shouldn't have to think about. This one made me cry when I first read it. Reed is a 7th grader at the middle school, and he's very concerned for when his grandfather comes to his baseball games. There's no handicap bathrooms at that facility. And then across the street at the softball field, you actually have to cross Stadium Drive to get to the restrooms that are shared with the football stadium. So it's huge safety concerns, not only for our children, but our spectators at the sporting events, and the people coming in from other schools to our sporting events. And this one also, again, about the rain and the flood. She was very upset that she has to plan her whole day around the weather because she's outside so much and her shoes are getting wet, and it's just adding extra stress to these children's lives that they shouldn't have to worry about. And you guys here, you guys listening online, it's up to you guys. You can change, you can take all these worries away from these children just by voting yes. So I brought my daughter, Randall. She's, like I said, going to be a freshman next year. She had to write a report this few weeks ago about the bond election. It was like a mock newspaper article. And she started thinking about it and breaking it down, and we talked about it, and she came up with some ideas, I guess, budget-wise, how it makes it affordable for a household. So I'm going to let her share that.
So as a student, I know how badly we need this bond to pass. I spent my 5th grade years in a portable, so I know how unsafe these students must feel with just walking back and forth just to go to electives. But even though this is a huge sum of money, once you break it down, it's not as bad as it seems. Monthly, it's about a meal for 4 at Waterburger, and yearly, it's a couple of nice dinners. By voting yes, you'd be improving the students' education and safety every time they're at school. And so if you have no other reason than to vote yes, do it for the kids, because it would make their lives so much better while they're still here.
Dr. Garcia said there will be open houses tomorrow night at the high school and the middle school. Please, if you're unsure of your vote on this, come look at these places. See where these kids are spending their days. Go to the ACISD website. There are pictures on there that would horrify you that children are spending 8 hours a day. They spend more time in these classrooms, in these spaces that, I wouldn't want I don't want my child there in those environments. And they're there when they're awake longer than they're at their own homes while they're awake. And it's not fair to them. They can't change it, but we can. So please go view the campuses and please vote yes and help our children. Thank you.
get any questions?
There's no one brought any.
Yeah, there's no written question.
Okay. Good? All right, thank you.
Okay.
That was really well done. Kim, where did you go? Your daughter, there you are. That's excellent reporting. The fact that you broke it down into Whataburger meals and nice meals. Let's talk after. I got a job for you. Great job. Thank you guys. We have a little extra time, so we're going to take that and apply it to our candidate form. So let's start, okay, with our candidate form tonight. So the question review panel will not be allowed to talk with anyone from the audience, okay? Any questions deemed inappropriate or duplicated will not be posed as a question. The question review panel will review and then pass the questions on to me. And I already have quite a bit of questions, which is great. Please keep them coming. Handwrite your questions, as a lot of you have done, in the slips of paper that are provided. All of the questions must be candidate specific. A wave of the question slip in the air, it signifies to our folks that it's ready for pickup. Leadership Aransas County graduates will collect those questions throughout the Q&A period. So if you come up with a question, just leave it up in the air. Each candidate is going to have 3 minutes for an opening statement. Our timekeeper will switch on the green light, there you go, for when you begin. When it turns on yellow, that means that you have 30 seconds left and you need to start wrapping it up. And then of course when that red light comes, that's going to be it, okay? When you hear the buzzer sound as well. You must stop talking, and the only reason I say that is because we're so limited on time. So please, when you hear the buzzer and you see the red light, let's just stop right there. Immediately following all the presentations, we are going to start our question and answer period. In the Q&A, candidates will have 1 minute. So the candidates, again, 1 minute to respond to each question, with the opposing candidate having 1 minute for rebuttal if you choose. Open discussion during the question and answer segment will not be acceptable and actually will be quieted. At 7:20, each candidate will be given time for a 1 minute closing argument. So I will repeat that again if I need to, but let's get started. Is everybody ready? Let's go. Okay, we are going to begin right now. We are going to start our question for Mr. Kane. I'm sorry. We're going to start with your 3 minutes. I just read what we're going to do and I already forgot. Each candidate, please, we're going to begin with 3 minutes for an opening statement and we are going to start to my left.
Not there?
Yes, sure. Or do you have a stand?
Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Andrew Kane, and I'm asking for your vote in the upcoming election. I want to be your mayor, and I have the energy and desire to be your mayor. I have strong ties to this community. My grandmother owned Kane's Cafe in downtown Rockport in the 40s. My family owned a condo on Jayroe from the 70s to the 90s. So I spent much of my youth visiting and falling in love with this community. I met and married a girl from Rockport after serving in the U.S. Coast Guard and graduating from Texas A&M. Norma and I have been married for almost 30 years, and our kids attended Rockport schools until we moved away in the 90s to pursue a business opportunity. We returned to Rockport in 2012, and we're here to stay. My business career has spanned 30 years, with the last 10 years in commercial development and management along the Gulf Coast. I intend to leverage this business experience to better serve Rockport citizens and businesses. As your mayor, I will promote transparency and ensure the citizens have a voice in the future direction of Rockport. I am known by many as the person who started the petition to give the citizens the opportunity to vote on $44 million in debt proposed by our city and our county officials with zero citizen input or even a vote that was respected. As your mayor, I will work to control spending. Our debt is the highest it has ever been at $54 million, with $24 million planned for this year and next year, and possibly another $18 million after that for utilities for a town of 10,000 people. As your mayor, I will make funding the maintenance of critical infrastructure a priority in the city's baseline budget. Deferring the maintenance of drainage and roadways does not make business sense, as it leads to costly repairs in the future. As your mayor, I will work to protect the free market. Rockport, as we know, is a desirable location. We do not need to rely on our ordinances and offer tax abatements for the new developments to come. Developers need to pay their impact fees and their fair share of the taxes. As your mayor, I will support our law enforcement and make it clear we're no longer accept the drug dealers peddling their poison in our community. Get rid of the dealers and we will see the property theft rapidly decline. As your mayor, I will work to preserve natural amenities. Our city must implement best practices in new drainage projects as our economy is based largely on the beauty of coastal waters. As your mayor, I will work with local entities towards common goals. We should concentrate on what makes Rockport, and that is the arts, fishing, birds, and our waters. We're at a crossroads with our city facing significant growth, massive debt, and a lack of a clear direction. I bring a business experience needed to address these issues, and I will work with all stakeholders to preserve our small town coastal lifestyle. I ask you to vote to elect me as the next mayor of Rockport. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Jayroe. I moved here in 1989, but visited here years and years ago. I grew up in East Texas, in Jacksonville, and like a lot of you who live here in Rockport, I have a lot of family there. There's about 6 generations of both sides of my family in that little town. So we loved Rockport, had an aunt that taught school here for 30 years, so we hung out here a lot when I was a kid, during the summer mostly. But really loved Rockport. When an opportunity came back in 1989 and someone had posted an ad on the bulletin board at the Tyler Police Department, I saw that ad and thought, hey, it'd be interesting to go back down there and see what the town looks like now. I had gone to work for the police department in Tyler in 1971, and at the time this came out, I was a lieutenant in the patrol division and was anxious to find a place to work as police chief. I had a degree from the University of Texas at Tyler, a bachelor's in public administration and law enforcement, and then later went back to school again, got a master's in interdisciplinary studies from UT Tyler. So I had a lot of experience and a lot of positions in that police department, and I felt like that made me a good candidate for the job down here in Rockport. I came down and visited. I visited with the mayor, who was Danny Adams at the time, and with Rob Robertson, who was the city manager. We talked about the things that we liked about law enforcement and what I might be able to do as things we might change in Rockport if we got here. Had a great interview. I thanked them for their time and started back home and called while I was on my way home and invited us to come back. When we came back, I went to work on July the 1st, 1989. And during my time here, we developed some things in Rockport. We did some things that had to do with visiting with the public and what kind of things they would like to have done in the police department. I frequently told people, I don't have a police department. The city manager doesn't have a police department. The council doesn't have a police department. You have a police department. And at the point that you decide it's not operating like you think it should, you have every right in the world to find somebody that will run it like you would like it to be run. We were here for 29 years and 7 months. Really love the town more and more. We appreciate having lived here and look forward to getting an opportunity to serve as your mayor. Thank you so much for your time.
Good evening. My name is Seth Snyder. I was born and raised in Coastal Bend area. I was raised just down the road in Ingleside, Texas. After graduation there, I moved on to Texas A&M, College Station, where I received my bachelor's degree in kinesiology and a minor in history. Basically what that fancy word means is I became a teacher and coach. So for 10 years, I was a teacher and coach. I've been in different school districts of College Station, of course, ISD, Lockhart ISD, and Gregory Portland ISD is where I finished up my career in teaching. I had jobs as far as a history teacher. I taught health, PE, was a coach as far as football, basketball, track, and golf. So I was a quite well-rounded coach and teacher in my 10 years that I had in that experience. After my coaching and teaching career, I moved professions. I now I work at our Flint Hills Resources here in Corpus Christi as a business operations specialist. I look at more of a turnaround standpoint. So I'm looking at monetary spends on turnarounds, money expenditures, and our future state of where we want our refinery to look in 10, 15, and 20 years down the road. As a school board member, or if I have the opportunity, I should say, I would love to showcase our students, not only academically, but athletically. I would also like to bring competitive wages back to our school districts. The retention of good teachers, to me, seems like an issue that we keep fighting and keep losing great qualified teachers to surrounding school districts. So that would be one of my important goals, is to keep those teachers and also to try to recruit for highly more educated teachers. I also am a very big pro-bond guy. I think we need state-of-the-art facilities here. And one of the big things I like to see is our career and technology improvements, as well as our trade programs. I believe that we need to have our kids workforce ready when they graduate schools. And then also just to work on the needs of all of our children, and of course our safety of our children. And I believe with the experience and the background that I have in education, and now getting the background of the business degree, or the business part of the Flint Hills, I believe that if given the opportunity, I could do a great job for you all as a school board. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Bonni Randall. I am seeking re-election to place 7 on the Aransas County ISD School Board. My husband and his family have lived in this area since 1940. He graduated from Rockport Fulton High School in 1984, and we just celebrated our 24th anniversary. Our children attended ACISD schools. Our daughter graduated in 2016, and our son went to school with the class of 2020. I drove a school bus for ACISD for 6 years. I also participated in the Rockport Fighting Pirate Band Boosters, serving as president for 2 years, and continue to help where needed. I had the opportunity to be home for a couple of years, homeschooling my son when he was struggling in public school. He thrived in the homeschool environment and earned the rank of Eagle in Scouting. Our daughter is married to a corrections officer in the Aransas County Sheriff's Department, and they are making their home here in Rockport. I earned my bachelor's degree in psychology in 2011 and my master's in education, curriculum, and instruction in 2020. I'm an Army veteran and an active member of the American Legion. You may have seen me carry a flag in one of the parades. I have also served as adjutant and commander of a local post. I'm very active in my church, serving on church council, as a Sunday school teacher, volunteering for Vacation Bible School, and serving in other capacities as needed. Over the time I've lived in Aransas County, I've observed many changes and challenges in ACISD. I decided I wanted to have a better understanding of what was happening in our school district, and perhaps help others understand and affect changes when needed. In 2020, I ran for the place 7 position that was vacated. While serving on the school board, I was inspired to do even more for education, and I began working on my teaching certification in January 2021. I now teach kindergarten in a neighboring district. I have the best of both worlds, serving in ACISD in a way I cannot serve anywhere else, and serving students in the classroom. I recently became the school board secretary, a position my fellow members had to vote on. I have participated in the search committee for a new superintendent, and attended many training sessions, including team training, to help understand policies and opportunities for our school district. I have served on the long-range planning committee and was on hand to answer questions during the bond advisory committee. I want to continue the great work with which I've been a part of over the last 2 years.
I'm Jayne Robertson, and I'm running for Fulton Place 5. I've lived in Fulton since 2013, my husband 40 years, Alderman Robertson. Our family also lived here 40 years ago, when Fulton was much less complicated than it is today. We, like many others, found that we couldn't make a living here. The job market was not enough to sustain our young family, so we went to where the jobs were, and then came back. This is still happening. Problem. I grew up outside of a tiny ranching town in South Texas near Pearsall. So a rural town has always been where I feel most at home, in a town like Fulton. I deeply love Texas and Fulton. I'm a 7th-generation Texan. I'm a business owner in Fulton. I own Pirate Cove Cottages on Broadway and Black Pearl Garden Nursery on 3rd. I have been an innkeeper for over 30 years. and it has given me an understanding of people in their vacation. I think my history in the hospitality lodging industry uniquely gives me insight to the needs of Fulton as a tourist destination, and more importantly, the people we call it home. It's our home first, and we should allow tourists to visit, but not at the expense of our way of life. I am also the local coordinator for the Texas Nationalist Movement, Aransas County Group, and we work for the political, cultural, and economic independence of the Republic and the inherent rights of the people of Texas. I am also a wedding officiant and have performed over 100 weddings in the last 12 years. I am passionate about the oak trees here. It's what sets us apart from a town like Port Lavaca or Seadrift or Palacios. We have our oaks and they don't. When the oaks are all gone to development, we will be Corpus Christi. And that's not why any of us moved here. When I saw the Alderman vacancy, I thought some of my experiences with small town life might be of use to Fulton. I think the ordinary people should get involved. Being a lifelong business owner qualifies me for this position because I know the success of a town depends on its small business and our members. Their knowledge and operating within a budget is what allows them to prosper. A town government should do the same. Okay? If I'm elected to this seat, my goal is to listen to your wishes and follow through with policy that reflects your goals. From talking to my neighbors, no one has said they want to lose our town to development and tourism. I've never done this job before, but I believe I can learn quickly and be of service. It's been interesting meeting so many neighbors, and I will be available to talk. Thank you. That's the story of me, and I'll stick to it.
Hello, my name is Contreras, and I've lived here on Prairie Road for 58 years. And I've done my best to serve the community as best as possible. I was in the fire department for 10 years here in Fulton. I was here when the first Oyster Fest was created by Google's Code and the fire department. And the fact is that we organized the first soccer league in the Aransas County, which grew to beyond proportions. And I was president of the Optimist Club at one time, and you know, and I still love serving people and everything else, and I have no problems in serving the people because I think a lot of things have happened over the years. You know, that's where things have changed so much, and it got to the point that living on Prairie Road for 58 years. Rika McLester, our former police chief, said, "Victor, you've lived on this road so long that the fact is that we ought to call you the mayor of Prairie Road." And that just stuck on and everything else. And every time I walked into the office over here at the City Hall, Ricky would say, "Well, what does the mayor of Fulton, the mayor of Prairie Road have to say?" Well, I would tell him what was going on, but the fact is, it's not so much the fact of being for mayor, it's just the idea. I love this town so much. I knew when this town was called Fulton, now it's called the town of Fulton, and I'm proud to serve in any way I can. And the fact is that I'm open to suggestions, and whatever people need of me, if elected, I will do my best to serve as best as possible. I won't shy away from questions. You know, my thing is we need resolve. Okay, let's resolve it together. I think we need someone that will listen to the public and serve the public and always be there for their fellow man and everything, or ladies, doesn't matter. But the fact is that we need to watch over everybody. We need to be brothers and sisters through all this and everything. The fact is that, there's not any camaraderie anymore. People just, they're so intent with everything going on that the fact is that we're not, taking care of each other while everybody else is getting away with so much. We need to bond together and be together and unite as a community, not just Fulton, but Rockport also. So whatever needs to be done to preserve our community, let's do it together. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
My name is Garis. I've lived in Fulton since my life. Our family actually started coming here in the early 1960s, and it was funny that we finally decided to buy property here in the 60s because my grandmother was tired of Canada. I told my grandfather to buy a house, and so we bought one lot. We bought our lots there that we've had in our family since the 1960s. I went to Fulton Elementary for first grade through fifth grade. Our class, it's a little tidbit of knowledge. Our class was actually one class that won the contest for developing the town of Fulton flag. I graduated from high school in 1995. Went to Corpus Christi, finished my degree in 2007 in business with management-based systems. I've worked for ACISD since 1995 as well. I graduated and started working in the district right there. Former Superintendent Mr. Spears hired me right after graduation to work in the technology department, and I've been there with his son ever since. It was a tough decision to run, to be honest with you, but after sitting with my mother and talking to her and seeing her doing it for 16 years, I decided, when they asked, I was going to do it. And a little story, a little side note was I was out of town for Harvey. I was in Missouri, and coming back, and I get a call from the former mayor, Jimmy Kendrick, wanted to know, hey, are you staying? I was like, no, I'm coming back, getting stuff up for school and leaving. And he let me know we had an issue. And I ended up having to stay to help with the Emergency Operations Center. So that was a tough day and a hard decision. But I feel like Fulton is growing, but we do need to manage that growth. I absolutely do not want to see smokestacks or anything like that ever. I don't want to see it in Orange County or Rockport. So it's just we need to listen to our citizens. One idea I've always had would be, at some point, if I was to be elected, work with the mayor and the council, let's just have an open forum and say, what do y'all want? Sure, I might decide I want all new streets and sidewalks, but that's going to cost a lot of money. And I'm not going to vote for that without y'all's approval because it's just not right. So that's kind of where I stand. I mean, I just want to do this and just, honor her presence and just continue to just keep the charm as much as we can. Thank you.
All right, we've gotten a lot of questions, so thank you, candidates, and we're going to get started. We are going to start with Mr. Andrew Kane. First question coming in: tourism is the main economic driver of the Rockport area, and the hotel occupancy tax, a hot tax collected by the local lodging industry on behalf of the city, was primarily authorized by the state of Texas to promote tourism, heads and beds. Tourism impacts everything from employment to lightening the tax load on residents through increased sales tax collected from visitors to our community. Currently, the Rockport Fulton Chamber is the primary organization tasked with promotion of our community using hot funds allocated to it by the local governments that collect it. Do you plan to continue allocating hot funds to the chamber to promote tourism? If not, why not?
The question was longer than a minute. So hot taxes, hotel occupancy taxes. What it's for is a lot of uses, like convention center, tourism, impact, beach cleanup, shoreline erosion. There's a lot of uses. There are a lot of uses of hot taxes. I absolutely feel that the impact of the tourists, the taxpayers are paying for, beach cleanup, the admission taxes, restrooms, boat ramps, fairgrounds. So I do believe we should stop what we've been doing and spending most of our hot taxes on just advertising, and also save share some of the NAV district in the city of Untitled to pay for the impact that the tourists have on our economy and not the taxpayers paying for that. So there's a mix between advertising for heads and beds and the impact of the tourists being here. Thank you.
Thank you. This next question is for Mr. Jayroe. Why should Rockport elect another career government candidate?
Did they get a rebuttal?
Sorry, rebuttal.
Thank you. I am in favor of turning most significant amount of money from hotel motel taxes to the Chamber of Commerce. They have been doing this for years. We also spread that money around with different entities that host events in our town, and that helps draw people here. The idea of the hotel and motel taxes, heads and beds, is getting people to come here and stay overnight, and eat in our restaurants, and stay in our town and see the amenities that we have. And also, after a while, those people frequently end up living here. In general, the Chamber has been instrumental in most of the development of tourism in our town. And it's not just our town, but Fulton with Oyster Fest and other things that are able to use hotel and motel tax funds for those presentations. I am in favor of assisting the Chamber of Commerce with those taxes.
Will somebody read me? What we're going to do now, I got it. Thank you guys. Thank you for being patient. Mr. Jayroe, question for you, and then rebuttal. Why should Rockport elect another career government candidate?
I was privileged to work here for 29 years and change. I worked for 5 different city managers, 8 different mayors, a whole lot of council people. I saw a lot of really good things done by people who were sincerely concerned about this city and its residents. I've had the privilege of doing that. I have attended about 1,200 city council meetings all over. No one ever asked me if I wanted to vote on anything. But having known those people and seeing the things that they have done, it was a privilege to learn the direction that the town could take based on those people's hard work and dedication. And I'm proud to have worked with them. I have seen projects that started and ended without completion because they just didn't work out for the city. But in general, I have seen wonderful things happen because of the hard work of those folks. I've got 29 years and 7 months of doing that, and I would like to continue that for you if I get the opportunity. Thank you.
The question was, why do we want somebody to...
Why should Rockport elect another career government candidate?
Well, that's a choice you have to make. So if you're happy with the direction this town's going, if you're happy with the path the city's taken, then that's what you need to vote for. If you want to take a different approach, listen to the citizens, respect their voices, respect their votes, not change our ordinances to allow 5,000 square feet down to 2,200, not encourage dense development, not encourage growth by tax abatements and using your taxes to provide incentives for the new people. If you want that approach, then I would say go with a businessman who runs your economy like a business and are responsible to your stakeholders. So it's your choice. If you like more of the same, you have one choice. If you want to start being valued and input, listened to, and respected, then you have another choice, and I would be responsible for your as a stakeholder. Thank you.
Mr. Kane, this one's for you. No, I keep that mic. So you recently received criticism for using an expired notary stamp on ballot forms. Your response was, quote, "I used the wrong stamp, no biggie," end quote. But the state of Texas shows your notary expired more than a year before the incident and has not been renewed. How do you explain that?
Okay, when we did the petition for the county courthouse, we had a list of spears, we wrote it on a sheet, notarized all the petition people. So we did the petition right. There was a few pages at 8:30 or 7:30 on the day we had turned in. My notary stamp was a couple of months expired, not a year. But I made a mistake, I guess. I used a stamp on a couple of pages, maybe 8, 9, 10. You could have thrown them out times 7, and we would have had more than enough for the petition. It didn't matter. The petition was certified, and I hope we have better questions about the important issues coming up. Then a notary stamp was a couple months expired on a petition that was validated. Thank you.
Don't know much about that particular incident. I was a notary for a long time, didn't have much problem with it, but gave it up when I retired. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jayroe, this question is for you. Can you solve our drainage problems and infrastructure needs without raising taxes?
There have been efforts made already trying to take care of some of our street problems, drainage problems, and like that. And that includes some bond issues that were done with that in mind. Also with some money that was found in the budget that could be used for drainage and should have been. And it has been. Can we fix drainage and streets without raising taxes? Yes, we can, but you would have to consider the possibility of doing more bond issues. Bond issues are ugly words to some folks. But if you do not have to change your tax rate to get those bonds issued and to fix the problems so that they will stand up for the next 20 years, that is likely a good avenue to take. Thank you.
Can we fix the flooding we have in this town? Absolutely not. Can we pay attention to it? Can we mow the ditches that are 10 feet tall? Can we get the trees out of the ditches? Can we put more than 0 or 40,000 a year in maintaining ditches in stormwater runoffs? We can do that with lawnmowers and our city workers. We do not have to have new bonds to improve. What we can't do is ignore in our baseline budget what the city's here for. Streets, drainage, and other issues. We need to focus on your streets, drainage, potholes, infrastructure, utilities in this town, instead of focusing on shiny new city halls that are $24 million and ignoring the flooding. We can fix it, we can do better. You just have to have the right priorities and a vision which way you're looking. Thank you.
Our next question is for Chris Garis. What do you believe is the greatest challenge facing Fulton at the current time, and do you have a plan to address it?
I think one of the what's facing our challenges right now is development. We've got developers trying to come in and put their houses in spots that may or may not fit. One thing we need to do, and we are working on this now, is clean up all of our ordinances. There are a ton of ordinances that have not been seen or looked at until they've been needed. And so we need to go over those, make sure they're right, and just so that we can control what is being developed here. That's and then input on what y'all want.
I agree with Chris. The fact is that there's so many ordinances and different things that are going on in this town and everything else, but like I say, I really can't argue with some of the things he said, because the fact is, I know it's supposed to be a rebuttal, but when you agree with somebody, why rebut, so, basically, whatever Chris just said, I agree with him 100%, so, thank you.
Okay, Bonni, Randall, this question is for you. How were bond committee members selected, and was the committee publicized before it was formed?
The bond committee members were selected by input from the trustees, and I believe there was some input from staff members. I don't remember exactly how all of that was put together. That was mostly done by Dr. Garcia. And as far as publicizing it, I honestly don't know. I know that came up. We got emails as far as who was going to be on the bond advisory committee. There was information put out there that we were putting one together, but I don't know exactly how much publicizing there was done.
I don't think there's a rebuttal to that.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is for Mr. Kane. The question is, you've been very vocal about fiscal responsibility and transparency. With this in mind, do you still have an unpaid lien in Colorado? Is that the fiscal responsibility the citizens of Rockport can look forward to if you are their mayor?
Okay, I'm gonna apologize to the audience here on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. These are not the questions that you come here to listen to about what's going on in the future of our town, but I will answer that. So I lived in Colorado, 2009, oil field shut down by Obama. I closed up a business. I didn't close up my Department of Revenue account. Moved back to Texas. Years later, it came upon me that the state of Colorado was, you owe sales tax. I didn't collect any sales tax at this time. They said, well, we use what we call estimated sales tax. And I did not know that. By the time it took 3 years to find me, a court lien, no. I do not owe any sales tax in Colorado. But I'm sure y'all can come up with an issue that is important to the city of Rockport instead of legislating, guys. Come on, this is an important election. The city has an important issue they want to talk about.
Mr. Jayroe, this question is for you. I was hoping you would mention the number of city council meetings you attended since you became police chief, and I believe you did in your opening statements, and what that did for you. So I was hoping you would mention the number of city council meetings you attended since you became police chief and what that did for you.
Most of it made me sit around for a lot of hours, sometimes up to 11 o'clock at night, sometimes a little earlier than that. One of the advantages to attending that many council meetings over nearly 30 years is that you see a lot of the problems that come up from the citizens and you see how they're dealt with by different people. We have had public works directors, we've had police officers, we've had parks directors, we've had city managers, we've had mayors, councilmen, and like that were sincerely concerned about the public. And they tried as hard as they could to solve the problems that came up, not always to the satisfaction of everybody, but in general, what we try to do is solve the problems of the majority of the folks and give them a better life here. And I learned from those folks how to be sincere and how to work with people in a very effective way, I hope, and look forward to trying to use some of that for y'all's benefit. Thank you.
So I came tonight to hear Jayroe speak on where he stands on the issues. I've been watching the newspapers and the whole ad campaign. I've yet to hear him come out publicly and say what he stands for. We all know he was paid to sit on 29 years of city council meetings. But I'm going to round this back to the issue of the hot taxes and why I get beat up here at the chamber and why I was looking forward to coming here. The Chamber of Commerce is a political lobbyist organization. It's the largest lobbyist organization in the United States, doing 3 times more money than second place. What you're seeing here is the chamber using their influence to lobby the result of a political election. We don't even know how many city council meetings he's been to. I need to know what he's going to do in the future. You don't need to hear what I did 10 years ago. You don't need to hear about a silly tax lien or your notary stamp was a couple minutes expired. So this is why I'm against public funds going to the Chamber of Commerce, a political lobbyist organization, because they're not representing the best interest of the citizens as a whole, just their paid members. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is for Mr. Garis. What is your position on changing deed restrictions to higher density?
You know, I really don't know if we should do that because I had not driven through Port Aransas in a while, and about a month ago I drove through there, and I was quite honestly surprised at the number of houses that were over there. So, I mean, I don't want to say I'm absolutely against it because, you know, we do need additional housing, we need more affordable housing in this area for sure. So, I think it really just depends upon the developer and the way their plan came in, because, yeah, I was shocked when I drove through Port A recently, but, you know, yeah, it's a tough one. We have to manage that. We don't want to look like that. So, that's what I have now.
I don't know much about the deed organizations or anything. All I know is that we do have to build better just to improve the improvements, like all the housing and all that things going on bypass and everything else. We just need to improve the lifestyle around here and improve our, as far as the deeds, I don't know enough, I haven't served. But if I do serve, I'll be looking into it and try to make it more livable for our community and try to work with the council as best as possible. All I need is to get in there and I'll be your influence and I'll be the person to talk about what we need to do as one. Thank you.
Seth Snyder, the question is for you. Please choose one answer. Multiple choice. Which do you believe to be more important in retaining good teachers? A, strong student discipline, B, high pay, or C, no comment?
No comment, just kidding. Of course, I think it's going to be higher pay. Without a doubt, all of us who join, you pick a career path to make money, to raise your children, to raise your family. So without a doubt, I would say 100%, we need to increase our wages for our teachers and staffs. And again, like I was saying earlier, we are losing just the 8-9 years that I have been here in Rockport and been part of the school district with both of my children and my wife being a teacher here. I have seen a lot of great teachers. A lot of great teachers leave to surrounding areas, and when you ask them, the main reason is wages. So we've got to do something for these guys to keep these educators in our own town. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do agree. We definitely need to pay teachers better. I am a teacher, and even before that, I did vote for the $1.1 million that we put into pay this school year to try and help our teachers with the incredible stressors and the incredible demands that have been put on them. Our budgets are never made to pay our teachers enough, but any opportunity that we have, I am absolutely for giving our teachers more.
Thank you. Our next question is for Mr. Jayroe. So the question is, do you support tax abatements for bringing important businesses to Rockport?
I support trying to get businesses to come to Rockport that are compatible with businesses we have here and beneficial to the people who live here. I am not inclined to try to say give everybody that you talk to about the possibility of moving here with their business a tax break. But I think that talking about tax abatement is a tool that you can use if they come to see you and want to know what you're willing to do, to talk about getting them to come here and develop their business here. Most people will not get one. It doesn't happen. There are two in existence in the city of Rockport right now. They have worked effectively for the city, and you could have done them all along. Our economic development plan simply says you can discuss that with people. It doesn't say that they'll all get one.
There's one thing you need to be assured about your taxes: fair and equitable to everybody. I don't like it when the government uses your taxes to entice one behavior and punish another. I develop properties, millions of dollars at a time, multiple at a time. There's never been one project I've ever looked at that tax payment would turn a failed project that wouldn't exist in the area into a profitable project. A tax payment may cost the citizens hundreds of thousands of dollars of money needed for infrastructure, but it's never going to make a businessman invest millions of dollars to bring a project to a town that would otherwise not be a success. So tax abatements are just not needed. Unless you're in a town that is dying, the economy is dying, you might want a tax payment to attract growth. In this town, we need infrastructure, we need sewer, we need water, we need gas utilities. So why would you abate taxes to a business who's going to come anyway, but we need to impact you? Thank you.
Mr. Kane, this question is for you. How would you change Rockport's tradition of not working well with other entities?
Well, first off, I would change Rockport's recent history of not working well with y'all. And then we can take Rockport's history of not working well with other entities. And it comes back, you've been here long enough, and I spoke in public when the NAB district did renew the lease for the beach. There's been a tiff here between the two districts of drawing a line in the sand, my land, I'm right, you don't have a right, I'm not going to talk to you. So you have to put differences in the past aside, you have to put your pride aside, you have to open your ears and listen to the other side. The recent one we've all heard about is a little tiff between that district and the city over stormwater catch basins to catch sediment. It's best practices. I got 8 catch basins on a 4-acre storage facility. And we've spent more money, hundreds of thousands of dollars in contractor fines that the taxpayers are paying for because our 2 leaders, our city elected officials cannot take the private side and do what's best for the citizens and just get it done.
Thank you.
In working with the other entities around, we frequently find there are personality problems between people as they try to work together. And those things have to be avoided. Somehow people have to sit down and look at each other and decide to work together, whether they like each other very much or not. And that's hard to do for some people. But we have had the opportunity to see the county and the city work together on issues lately, the development of economic planning. We have seen them work together on other projects where there is a concern between the people, for the folks that are living here, for the young people that are growing up and not able to get good jobs here. There are a lot of things that we can work together, and the turf wars have no place in that kind of thing. We all have to try to do the very best we can for the benefit of everybody.
Mr. Snyder, this question is for you. Teacher pay is supported by our taxes. How can our teachers get better pay without raising taxes?
There's a few ways to get schools funding. It's through taxes or through enrollment, or as Dr. Garcia said, if somehow we could get the capture to lower the percentage of 17%. So without taxes being raised, there's 2 ways. You either decrease your recapture or you increase your enrollment. How you do that, in my eyes, to increase enrollment, school districts, to me, seem like they are it is an advertisement. You need to advertise your school. You need to show your school off. That's why, again, I'm a very pro-bond supporter, because yes, we might have to increase our taxes a little bit for this one bond, but I think your enrollment will go up just because you are a newer school district. It's what I like to call eye candy to future enrollees. Thank you.
I agree. I do want to add that one thing that we can do to help improve those enrollment numbers is make our schools in the classrooms someplace that students want to be. Someplace where there are good relations between those teachers and those students, and they're excited about coming here, and they're excited about being in the classrooms, and they're passionate about what they're learning. So increasing our student body is the best way to pay our teachers better. And we're going to do everything we can. If I continue to be on the board, I continue advocating for everything we can to improve those relations and increase our student population so that we can pay our teachers better.
Thank you. Mr. Jayroe, this question is for you. What makes you invulnerable to corruption or compromise of integrity?
I'm not sure I'm invulnerable to anything. Don't compromise in integrity is not something that we've made a habit of around here. Working with the police department all these years, we have tried to serve the public in a very good way, and there has not been a problem with corruption in our department. And I'm supposing it's the department you're talking about, unless it's something that I did, that didn't happen.
Thank you. Vote?
I don't know.
Thank you. Mr. Kane, this is for you. With the current high rate of inflation, have you looked at the current budget and identified ways that it can be cut in order to avoid raising taxes?
Well, first you have to look at how we pass bonds in the recent past, and I've only got a minute, so I go fast. The city's came out and said, we can afford these $14 tax notes. We can afford it without raising the INS. They did it by, during a record time of low interest rate, ballooning the payments 4, 5, 6, 7 years out. First year's payments, $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. Fourth year payments, $5 million, $5 million, $5 million. So what they've done is squeeze down like a payday loan to say we can afford it. You're paying interest. It's not affordable. You're going to have to raise the taxes down the road. So what we knew 2 months ago, we took that 10-year tax note, 5 to 17 years, so we could squeeze in another 8.1 million, 5.4 million short on the city hall, and we balloon that again. So I don't know who our financial advisor is that says during local times we constantly balloon out the debt. We've got a tidal wave of debt coming, and unless we continue the path of constantly refinancing it, it's going to raise our taxes. Thank you. Bad tax decision.
Our current bonds will be paid off in 2036 without tax increases. Because of that, and the fact that the taxes that people are paying right now are adequate to cover those bonds, we also, as you have been told recently, have an opportunity, if necessary, for other bonding that can solve things like drainage problems and street problems. Not that anybody wants to do that, but should we have a catastrophe here again like Harvey, knowing that that bonding service is available without raising taxes is a benefit to each one of y'all, whether you're a resident or whether you're a business owner.
Mr. Jayroe, this question is for you. What are the top 3 things you would want to accomplish for the city during your potential tenure as mayor?
I would like to see the 87% tax that property owners of residential property are paying reduced by getting new businesses in here that will take care of working with the businesses we now have and be compatible and benefit the city. I would also like to see the police department, that's one of my things that are near to my heart, have enough people that the folks that are out there concerned about seeing police cars when their cars are being burglarized and when somebody can be by when they've got a problem, be a little bit more frequent when there's more than 4 cars on the street. Other than that, I want to work with the public, to get the public working with us on every issue that the city has to address, which means finding people that are willing to work with us and are capable of working with us in solving the problems of the city. I'd like to do those 3 things. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kane?
Well, you know where I started at with this a couple years ago. The number one thing I'd like to do is the city's going to need large-scale debt like we have done in the past. We've done twice in the last 2 months. We're planning on doing another $24 million this year, next year, and $18 million the year after that. And it needs to be like a school district study. Put a citizen committee together, find out our wants versus needs, and then bring it to you vote on. That'd be the first thing I want to do, is involve y'all with our spending and our future. The second thing I want to do is be fiscally conservative with our departments, which means budget from the top down instead of the bottom up. Look at ways to save money in our budgets. We have to pay off this debt. It's not survivable. It's not, they're not being truthful when they're saying this is something we can do without raising your taxes in the future. You have to sit down, and I can show you later, the bubble of balloon notes that we just continue to keep pushing through. The third thing I want to do is give respect to the citizens that show up at City Council and want to speak. Meaning, shuffle your papers and show respect to our citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Snyder, this question is for you. There are many concerns about taxes for other major improvements. How would you convince the residents to support the upcoming bond?
I would ask all the residents of Rockport, if you are on the fence of this bond, that you need to visit our high school and you need to visit our Fulton Learning Center. You need to go to yourself, look for yourself, go look at our schools, look what these teachers are doing with, and we already mentioned that they are doing a great job of teaching, but their classrooms are very small. They have limited light sockets for charging their iPads. Kids walking back and forth, like I said, with their shoes getting wet. There's just, I challenge you to go look at our schools. One thing I will say that hit me to heart, up on the slide, that young man in the 7th grade that was talking about a disabled man not making it, that was actually my father. So there are a lot of improvements that need to be made, not only for our students, but also for our community when they do come and watch our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just going to agree with what Mr. Snyder said. Please go walk the schools. If you're on the fence, go walk the schools. Technology has changed dramatically since these buildings were built, and we're trying to teach 21st century in not 21st century. So 1950s buildings do not work for 2022. And it's going to cost, it would cost way too much to try and refurbish that. So it's time to condense our buildings, make them safer, make them more secure, make them more pleasant for our students, make them someplace they want to be.
Thank you. Mr. Kane, this question is for you. With the negative posts that you write on social media towards political opponents or anyone you disagree with, how do you plan to work with anyone who doesn't share your views?
Well, first off, whoever says I post negative is incorrect. I post truth. I post facts. I post things that people don't want to hear, and I post it in a very polite manner. I have never used ugly words, name calling that I'm accused of. I actually have it come to me. I'm above that. I want to get the facts out honestly. So there is no negative posts about people. What I speak about might make some people special interest, people that want to build back better. I like to build Rockport. It upsets their status quo. So yes, I get attacked more than anyone else, and I do not respond unprofessionally. No negative attacks on people. I don't know what to say about that. You have to judge for yourself. I am what I am. I'm passionate because I love this town and I want to start seeing a change. I want Rockport to grow for the citizens over the special interest in business development, short-term rentals, real estate investment trusts that are coming down our doors. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have always found that social media creates problems, arguments, and all sorts of things that go on that I don't want to be involved in, and so I avoid them. I have several times recently been accused of deleting people's messages. I did. I saw a message the other day from a lady saying you delete other people's messages and you don't try to answer the questions that they have, you'll probably delete this one also. I thought, yep, I will. Social media is not a good place to work with people. You create problems when you start calling each other liars, whether you say the word or not. When you say that you're misleading people, you're not doing what you supposedly stand up to do, you're not showing integrity and all like that, you're not doing a good job of trying to give the people a reason to pick a person to be their mayor or any other position. So I don't do it and won't. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jayroe, this question is for you. So all you talked about in your intro was your experience as a cop. But what can you do to help relieve the tax burden on residential homeowners who pay 87% of the debt, versus businesses that only pay 13%? Tax abatements to developers will make things worse, I think, over the next decade. So how can you help overturn that pipe dream?
If when you find businesses that are going to come to town, they're going to do a whole lot of work in certain areas. For instance, if they build lift stations for the sewer system, and you give them a tax break or they're paid back for doing that, whether they need the work done for their taxes or whether it's because they've got to build that lift station to get their business running, but the city benefits from getting that into their sewer plant. So you get a benefit. You give them a chance to get some of that money back as they grow so that they didn't lose that money building something specifically for the city. If you do the same kind of thing down around the seawalls downtown, around the Bass property and like that, and somebody has to come in and build those walls up before they can build a business, and they spend $1 million or $3 million or $5 million getting the walls built. They belong to the city and to the NAP district, but they are fixing them so that they can build buildings. They need to find a way to get some of that back over time. But it hasn't been something that we've had to do. Those kind of things are beneficial to the city as well as to those businesses.
Thank you.
you have to define what's a business and what's a residence. Let's look at what percentage of homesteaded houses pay the tax, property tax share. Because a majority of the short-term rentals, you're excluding, when you say 86% of the residents are paying it, or residential. All the short-term rentals on Key Lake Road, Hard Rock, I live in, every vacation property here is a business, and they found that out today when they did their income taxes. If you plump back in all the value of the residents, second homeowners, the majority is going to be equal. It's going to be a split between our residents and our property owners. Short-term rentals are businesses, they're hotels, paying hotel occupancy taxes. So this 86% is not a factor in this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Kane, please explain why you don't support downtown.
Well, once again, that's a lie too. And I really think we have better things to do at a city council meeting when we have important issues coming up than where I shop. Because first off, maybe don't shop that much, but let's address the question I've asked every time. The only one you haven't asked me yet is a DUI 24 years ago. If that's all y'all want to come here to hear tonight, I apologize to the audience. Why do I support downtown? Go to my house. Anyone follow me? I have more art, more items, more things in my house than the majority of all you need, and maybe 2 or 3 times. I bought 2 original works of work, 2 original works of art this week. I've got John Martell, I've got Barry Blasses, I've got Marie Nesbitt, I've got Rip Harrison, I've got trinkets that my wife is sitting here, we just can't stop shopping downtown. So let's get beyond where I shop. I shop at Taco Town, Ace Hardware. That's what the things are that I want to go to. Thank you.
I like downtown folks too. I visited with them the other day. I'm glad they're there. I don't care what time they open or close.
Mr. Jayroe, the next question is for you. What is your position on the new drainage system with no environmental protection system? So what is your position on the new drainage system with no environmental protection systems?
Don't know a lot about it, but I do know that the NAP district had asked for the device be placed on some of the sewer lines that were going to be placed running water from the overflows downtown and like that. I don't know what the cost would be, and I'm not sure just exactly what the things were supposed to measure. But talking with the Public Works Director, it was not something that the design people or the engineering people felt was necessary, and that's the best answer I can give you.
Well, I can help you out with that one, because that's what I do for a living. So, stormwater runoff. All the property goes into a stormwater system. You have what's called catch basins. Let's not make them sound something more than that. A square box, concrete. A pipe coming in this side, disconnected, a pipe going out that side. 7 falls to the bottom of the box. We've spent, at the last facility, I think it's 7 catch basins on a 4-acre storage facility. We're talking downtown, the NAP district asked for hundreds of acres with no catch basins. It's best practices. I've done in Alderman, I've done in Spring. In fact, I have not developed anywhere 20-something properties where they were not required upon a business. So how the city would skip best practices is beyond me, especially when it's going into our bank that our tourism is dependent upon. It's simple. Catch basins are simple. We've spent more money in contractor fines because of this little pride that would cost us to move the catch basins.
Mr. Kane, the question is for you. In recent social media posts, you have said you do not want hotel taxes allocated to the chamber for destination marketing purposes. Are you saying that it is more efficient for all 3 entities to market themselves individually?
What I said was, I do not support the taxpayers, public funds, going to a private membership of paid business people to pay for the chamber being a chamber. The internet, the taxpayers are paid for, charge a percentage of that. Electricity, copy, admin, salaries. If the chamber wants to continue doing what they do great, which is supporting and promoting their paid members, then that's great. The taxpayers should not implement money for that. What I would be inclined to do is if there is a check for check basis, Let's pull $80,000 or $54,000 last 2 quarters of the admin of the Chamber of Commerce being a private corporation. Let's not let them ask for an overhead on it. Let's do check for check on the cost of the advertising, because they're doing it well. Public funds should not go to private corporation that does political lobbying. And you're seeing it here, guys, political lobbying.
Chairman Randall, I support the work of the Chamber of Commerce. I've had 29 years work within here in town. I've always been supportive of the city, and I appreciate the work we do.
Mr. Kane, all the questions are for you back at us. Question for you. What is your opinion of the school bond? Are you for or against, and why?
I was impressed when my kids went to school 20 years ago. The schools are a mess. We need to do infrastructure. No doubt about it. One thing that put me off a little bit tonight, I've heard along the ways, is if you're going to sell me a bond, you're going to tell me why we need something. I do not appreciate if you're 65 or older, vote for this because it's not going to cost you anything. That's not how you sell a need to the public. Sell a need to the public is something we need. And yes, we need this. I may undervote this because I am not going to be affected by the taxes going up. If you're a senior citizen, I think you should undervote it too, which means don't vote yes, don't vote no. Let the citizens who are going to pay for it, let them decide if they're going to support it or not. My wife's disabled. I don't have untaxed funds on 65. I'm going to undervote. It's all I'm going to do. Let the ones that have skin in the game make the decision because they're the ones that will be paying for it. Thank you.
I appreciate Dr. Garcia and the work he's done. I appreciate the school board and the work that they have done. I support the young people in our schools and the teachers in our schools, and I will vote for it.
Mr. Kane, as you have stated that security is important to you, do you believe that the more students are involved in activities, the less they will be in our jails? If yes, do you support the bond?
Well, no, absolutely. Extracurricular activities are what team building. It's part of being successful in life. I have a team of employees, whether they're maintenance, salespeople, managers. So team building through sports is very important. I did my whole life through sports. All my brothers and sisters did. So whether it was not just athletic, but other types of choir, band, other things. I absolutely support extracurricular activities for the students. We also have to be reasonable on what we can afford and the timing we're doing that too. Once again, I'm going to undervote this, I believe, because I don't have skin in the game on taxes.
I'm in favor of all the things the kids can do at the school. Like you said, the band, the choir, the football team, the baseball team, the soccer team. I don't understand some of those things when I go to a soccer game. They say all sides, I'm looking for a line of scrimmage. But I appreciate what the schools do for the kids. And I agree that kids that are involved in academics, they're involved in athletics, they're involved in the arts and so forth program in school are much less likely to be involved with the police when they're wrong.
We have 3 more questions and 3 more minutes, so we'll try to get to it. Mr. Kane, will you make water quality of our bays, including Little Bay, a top priority?
Well, I'm hoping the Mavericks is going to take the lead on that because that's what they do. But yes, water quality. So in the 70s, I swam. I spent all my days and weeks in Little Bay because the sunfish tipped over or whatever the reason was. So water quality is very important. I go fishing. I do not want to wake up one day and learn that I've been eating fish that I'm not supposed to. Our fish is not healthy, or the fish are gone. So water quality is what brought me here. It's what brought most of y'all here. It supports our tourism. It's one of the most important things we can do in this community to keep Rockport what Rockport is. Arts, water, painting, boats, birds, fish, in our ecology here. It's so important. Thank you.
And it's important to all of us, the city, the navigation district, the county, the town of Fulton. and we all share that. We need to find experts that we can rely on to tell us the best plan that we can find to develop and keep our water safer, because it is vital to our area.
Thank you. Mr. Kane, this one is for you. A good leader is also a good listener. Do you feel you will be able to listen to other ideas and make informative decisions based off knowledge and not emotions?
Right. So I have a favorite saying, and I do manage a group of professionals and our managers, and I love the opportunity. I look forward to the Friday meeting that I host every week. Hey, thanks for doing that policy. I was wrong. It didn't work out. Let's stop doing this in our business and let's go a different route. I actually enjoy saying I was wrong. It sets a good example for my employees and my teammates. And then I like to stop, listen, and go forward. I mean, we learn so much in life. You start out in one direction, and as you take a couple steps, you realize that you might want to stop, pause, and reevaluate yourself real quick. We started a City Hall project, $4 million, February 2020. We're now 23. So sometimes you want to pause and say we're still going the right direction. Thank you.
It's real easy sometimes when you are the head person in an organization or something, it's real easy to start thinking that you're awful smart and that you have a good answer for every problem that comes along. And then sometimes you'll sit down with the guys that work for you, and when you tell them everything that you know to say and you start listening to them, you find out that maybe they're a little bit smarter than you about some things. You have to listen to people. We need to listen to the public. We need to listen to each other. The folks up here, we need to listen to what we're saying to each other. Absolutely. You have to stop and listen, because you're going to find out that other people have a lot of good sense too.
Last question. Perfect timing too. Okay. Mr. Kane, what can you do to help Rockport develop affordable housing? Without it, we cannot grow.
Okay. What I did for years when Rockport continued a 9-day moratorium on RV parks, I was the only one that stood up in this entire room, in this entire town, and said, stop, what are you doing? We need affordable housing. City Council had another idea. We don't like trailer parks, we don't want people to live in trailers, and so I stood up to stop the moratorium on RV parks. They bring in heads and beds, affordable housing for our workers if they're done right. The city can't solve the problem of affordable housing. Nobody can build anything affordable today. But what we can do as a government is we can continue good relationships with Good Samaritan, Habitat for Humanity, and reach out to other government programs, the GLO. There's a lot of organizations that are good at bringing affordable housing, and it's not the city. We need to reach out to the ones that are successful at it. Thank you.
In dealing with affordable housing, we know that we lost a lot of people after the hurricane that moved away and haven't come back. We lost kids. If you go to restaurants, there are restaurants that are having to close down an extra day or two a week because they don't have enough help to get their services done. So we do have an issue with that. We've got to find a way to either work with developers or with others in other cities who have dealt with the same problem to find a good answer to affordable housing. When we talk about apartment complexes, some of the ones that get built are expensive enough that people can't afford to live there. A school teacher who is single with 2 kids can't afford to live in some of the apartments in town. And then we need to find a way to take care of that. So it's going to require working together with other entities and dealing with the developers that can put those kinds of residences here for us.
Can we give a round of applause to all the candidates, please? Thank you for being here. Thank you for answering the questions. And we're going to begin right now closing arguments. You will be given 1 minute for a closing impact statement, and we're going to start once again.
I've been popular tonight, it means the word, so I'm doing my job. A couple years ago, I stood up so we could listen to the citizens. Didn't go so well. Mistreated at city council meetings, other citizens mistreated. All I want is for y'all to vote. I want y'all to have a right to say what goes forward in this community, except for not just listen to the Chamber of Commerce, the EDC, the special interest groups that will spend tens of thousands of dollars to defeat me, who will try to embarrass me with silly questions that are wasting your time and come to a forum. They're scared. I'm here to represent you, the citizens, the everyday folks. I'm not here for this development. I'm not here for future highlighters. I'm not here to turn us into Port Grandes. I'm here to keep this town the same as you have now when you love it. When they attack me, trust me, they have a lot to lose, and they do. The track we're heading now is not the Rockport I want to see. I want to continue the organic growth of a beautiful town that we've all come to fall in love with, not profiteer off our waters and our beautiful coastline. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity to come and sit and talk with people like you that are hopefully listening to what is said and trying to make a decision on what you're going to do when it comes time to vote. Andrew, Kane, and I see some things different. As far as I know, I haven't spent a whole lot of time with him, but he's a nice guy. We don't look at things the same way. I believe that our town has been doing well, and it's been doing well under leaders that have been here before. I've learned a lot from those people. I believe that the people need to know exactly what's going on and not be misled by some people that might be with a group that I work with and try to tell you that things are going to happen to you if certain things go on in the town that are not true. And I won't have that. I appreciate you. I will tell you the truth. If you don't like what I say, that's fine. But I appreciate your time, and I will ask your vote. Thank you very much.
First of all, given the opportunity to support our school or to represent our school, I will do my very best to contribute not only to the board to make sure that all of our children and all their needs are met. First and foremost, I will ensure that our children are well protected and that we have a quality education, and that is going to be the primary focus of our school board. Okay, the school board has a great responsibility to establish most suitable policies and regulations for our public school. I will work hard for our students to receive the most desirable education for every tax dollar spent. This duty calls for a reliable, a cooperative, I think a very dedicated, and also a very passionate member, which I consider myself to be. Okay. Thus, I believe that I will be a suitable member for the Aransas County Independent School Districts, and I appreciate your vote, and thank each and every one for your time. Thank you.
Past National School Board President Frank Pugh said education is changing, and I believe it's changing for the good, but with changes comes incredible difficulty and challenges. Governance, school boards, and superintendents are on the front line of meeting those challenges. Some are doing a great job, others are struggling. From the moment I was sworn in on the school board in 2020, I began to experience those challenges and changes. It has been a challenging but rewarding 2 years helping our district handle a pandemic, freeze, and more than one flood. Our school board and superintendent are doing a great job meeting those challenges. According to Dave Campbell's and Michael Fullen's book, The Governance Code, school board governance takes systems thinking, strategic focus, deep learning, and hearing stakeholders' voices, being the public voice, and advocating for staff and students. I understand one decision could affect the entire school district, and in many cases, the entire community. Serving these last 2 years has been an honor. I hope you will consider allowing me to continue serving.
As far as becoming alderman for the town of Fulton, I just have one thing to say. I would like to let you all know that I will be available for all of you anytime you want to talk to me. But I have a final word. In the Texas Constitution, the final word I have to say is in the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 2, it states, all political power is inherent in the people. All free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their benefit. Who is that? That's the people. That's you. We have the power. Let's keep things the way we want them in Fulton.
I agree with what she said and everything else, and even though we didn't have much time to talk to you, the people, and everything else, I represent you, the people, because I want you to open up and ask me whatever y'all need to ask me, whenever y'all get a chance. If y'all see me out in the streets or post office, wherever y'all see me, open up. I can't fix nothing and y'all don't tell me what's wrong. So, I made a pact with Chris and everything else. We're not gonna be, mudslinging towards each other, nothing. Because the fact is that we're here for you guys. We're not here to, any mudsling or nothing. Because the fact is that we're just here for you guys. We want y'all to understand that, we depend on your votes and need your voice also. Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. Let us talk to y'all. My goals, if I continue to keep the seat, would be one of my number one goals is to get the homestead exemption passed for all Fulton residents. I did not know that was not, we did not have that. So, but yes, I'm going to try to keep this clean and just, basically no mudslinging. And, and like I said, we choose now, I've wanted to get homesteads passed, clean up more ordinances, and actually look at potentially expanding Fulton PD so we don't have to rely on Rockport as much for our security and stuff. We only have, John, and we can't do it all by ourselves, so that's something I'd like to, at least, if y'all let me, I'd like to try and see if we can make it happen. And before we pass any large debts, get the citizens' input on that, because I'm one vote. That doesn't mean that y'all want that, so, thank you.
Who would like to?
Oh, sorry, I turned it off. You see it at the second. Sorry. There you go.
We would like to offer a special thank you to all of you for your attendance, and of course, a very special thank you to our moderator, Jayroe, for the excellent job this evening. Thank you to Joe Trevino and his crew at Drifters RV Park for cooking dinner for us. So on your way out this evening, please grab a hot dog, chips, and water. Thank you all for coming. Cast your vote for the May 7th general election. Information on times and locations are on the back of your program, and travel home safely. Thank you very much.